Good morning, my dearies of grade 7. How are you all? Everybody have enjoyed your weekend in a fun-filled way. Expecting everybody to do the same, children. This is Aparna ma'am back again with the new session, children. Before going on to our session, a few tips from your Aparna ma'am. Drink lot of water to avoid dehydration. Always use cotton clothes. Okay, let's get back to our today's session. Before going to our today's session, let's have a short recap on the last session what we all studied last week. So what are the things we start about? We start about nutrition, what are the nutrients and the two mode of nutrition. One is autotrophic mode of nutrition and heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Autotrophic mode of nutrition, auto means self, trophic means to feed. This is about the autotrophic mode of nutrition, and the organism which uses the autotrophic mode of nutrition are known as the autotrophs. So next we pass on to the photosynthesis. What you all know by the photosynthesis? What are the conditions necessary for the photosynthesis? In that we discussed about sunlight and chlorophyll, right children? So moving on to the next session, we will start today with the next of the requirements of photosynthesis. As we are already known, what are the conditions required for the photosynthesis is first one, sunlight, chlorophyll, carbon dioxide, water and minerals. So in that we are going to discuss about the carbon dioxide. Where is carbon dioxide? Carbon dioxide is present in the air. It's taken by the plants through small openings called stomata. So stomata is nothing but the tiny pores on the surface of the leaves where the exchange of gases takes place. Stomata is also called as a stoma. It is a singular, it is called the stoma. Stoma also helps the plants to respire. Stoma also helps the plants to respire, and they are present in abundance. Abundance means more, where they would present on the lower surface of the leaves. So each stoma is surrounded by the God cell. Each stoma is surrounded by the God cell. These God cells only control the opening and closing of stomata. So when it will open, when the gases is coming in, it will open and then it will close. When the oxygen is going back again, it's open. I have given the pic in the screen, children. Just have a look on it, children. So what is the next one? Carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is present in the air. And what is the singular form of stomata? It is called stoma. And what does the stomata do? Stomata helps the plants to respire, and it is present in abundance on the lower surface of the leaf. Each stoma is surrounded by the God cell. God cell means a protective cover, and the God cells only control the opening and the closing of the stomata. God cells only control the opening and the closing of the stomata. One cross section of a leaf is also there in your thing, children. You just have a look on it, children. So carbon dioxide is present in the air. Singular term is called stoma. Carbon dioxide is absorbed by the stomata. It is present on the lower surface of the leaf, and it is guarded by the God cells. God cells only control the opening and closing of. Moving on to the next one, the conditions required for the photosynthesis is very important one. That is nothing but your water and minerals. How the water and minerals will comes from? Water and minerals are absorbed by the root. So root has the roots of the plants absorb water and minerals dissolved in the soil with the help of the root hairs. They are also essential for so roots have root hairs that only help the water and minerals to absorb, and it is essential for the photosynthesis. And it is water and minerals are absorbed by the root hairs, and it is transported to the leaves through a tissue called a xylem. So xylem is one of the things. Xylem is a tissue like a thing. Xylem is also a tube like structure. Xylem is also a tube like structure. Everything you can read it about the xylem in your later classes. So water and minerals, roots are absorbed by the plants by the root hairs. Root hairs from the root hairs, xylem is present in the leaves to absorb the water and minerals. Xylem is nothing but a tube-like structure. Now we have discussed about the condition required for the photosynthesis. What is there? Carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is present in the air and it is absorbed by the stomata we seen. And next is about water and minerals. Water and minerals are absorbed by the root with the help of the root hairs, and it is transported to the leaves by means of a tube-like structure called a xylem. Moving on to the next topic is synthesis of plant food other than carbohydrates. We have studied in photosynthesis only the glucose will be produced. Not only the glucose, children, we have all other byproduct also. Let's have a short look on it. Plant synthesis carbohydrates through the process of photosynthesis. Carbohydrates are made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. These are also used to synthesize other components such as protein and fats. But proteins also contain nitrogen. From do plants obtain this nitrogen? Because nitrogen is present but it cannot be obtained from the plant directly, so we need the atmospheric nitrogen to be fixed off. That is called the rhizobium. In your last relation we will discuss it later. This is about the other things rather than the carbohydrates. What are the other things are also synthesized? Protein. But proteins need the nitrogen cannot be fixed by the plants directly, so it needs a rhizobium. All this. What are the carbohydrates made up of? Carbohydrates is made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So far we discussed about the autotrophic mode of nutrition. Moving on to the next one, it's a heterotrophic mode of nutrition. What is a heterotrophic mode of nutrition? In the beginning of the class itself we discussed that heterotrophic nutrition is nothing but the consumers. That is, some living organism depend on the other living organism for food. These organisms have heterotrophic mode of nutrition, and the organism which undergo this heterotrophic mode of nutrition is known as the heterotrophs. All animals, including the humans and the plants that cannot carry out photosynthesis, are heterotrophs. Monotropha and Cuscuta are example of heterotrophs. We will discuss about the different type of plants in the coming slides, children. So what is a heterotrophic mode of nutrition? It cannot prepare its own food. Even humans cannot prepare their own food, and they will carry on about the photosynthesis process. The animals, including the humans and the plants that cannot carry out photosynthesis, are heterotrophs. The examples are Monotropa, Cuscuta are example of heterotrophic plants. So some heterotrophic plants we are going to discuss right now is parasitic plants, insectivorous plants, saprophytic plants, symbiotic plants. What are the four different types? Parasitic plants, saprophytic plants, insectivorous plants and symbiotic plants. Let's have a detailed discussion of all. Moving on to the first heterotrophic tropic plants is parasitic plants. Parasite kids. What is a parasite, dearies? Parasites means it cannot prepare its own food, so it will live in the body of the other organism. That organism is a host. So parasitic plants means, you might have guessed now, parasitic plants means living in the body of other organism as a host and derive its nutrition. One such example is Cuscuta plants. This is an heterotrophic plants having parasitic mode of nutrition. In this mode of nutrition, a plant lives on another living plant and derives its nutrition from the host. This plant derives its nutrition is called a parasite. The plant which derives nutrition from the host is called a parasite, and the host which gives the nutrition to the parasite is called a host. The plant from which the parasite derives its nutrition is called a host. Cuscuta is an example of a parasitic plant. So few examples of parasitic plants of Cuscut. It can also be called as a dodder and Rafflesia, and I have gave you the pics, children. Rafflesia is such a big flower in this world, children. It's a very weightiest flower in this world. What is a Cuscut, children? It's a pale yellow twining plant often seen on tree tops. It twins. Twins means it will twins over the host. Host means the plant which it will twins and absorbs its nutrients using certain special route. Rafflesia is also a parasitic plant found in the forest of Malaysia. It has the biggest and the heaviest flower. There are certain plants that are partial parasite. Partial parasite means some can prepare its own food but will live on the host. For example, Mistletoe. These plants can prepare their own food but depend on other plants or host for water and animals. This is about the parasitic plants, children. In that we discuss about the Cuscuta and Rafflesia. Rafflesia is the heaviest. Moving on to the next one, insectivorous plants is also called as a carnivorous plant. You might have guessed, dearies, because you all studied about this insectivorous plants in your lower classes. Can you all brush up again, dearies? Insectivorous plants is nothing but it's a non-green plant and it cannot prepare its own food. Then how it will live? So what it will do means these plants feed on insects by trapping and digesting them. Some examples of insectivorous plants are pitcher plant, Venus flytrap, sundew plant and bladderwort. Most of these plants are found in the environment where nitrogen is not readily available. They use insect protein as a source of nitrogen. This is a kind of holozoic nutrition. Some new word is coming, children. Holozoic nutrition. Holozoic nutrition is nothing but it's a heterotrophic type of nutrition. Even humans are using the holozoic nutrition. That doesn't matter. Intake, digesting, stimulation, assimilation, everything. The process is there in the humans. Not the same way. Holozoic is nothing but indigesting the thing, because in the thing it will in the plants will, because it will be colored very colorfully. The Venus flytrap and all will be very colored. So what the insects will think, the small worms and insects, it is a beautiful plant, so that we can stick to it. At that time what will happen, a pitcher plant can smell that. They have a special order, children, so they can smell it. They smell their prey, and what they will slowly, they will make us, the colorful thing will attract the worms and they will get engulfed into it, and the insectivorous plants will digest that. This is a insectivorous plants. The leaves of the pitcher plants are modified into a pitcher-like structure to trap the insect. The tip of the leaf forms a lid to the pitcher. The insect trapped in the pitcher plant is directed by the hairs in the pitcher. There is an insect is digested by the enzyme present in the juice inside the pitcher plant. So the leaves will be colorfully have, and the tip will be modified as a lid, so that if the insect should come, they should close it. If not, the insect will go out of it, right? The leaves of the pitcher plants are modified into a pitcher-like structure. Some pitcher-like structure. The tip of the leaf form a lid to the pitcher. The insect trapped in the pitcher plant is directed by the hairs in the pitcher. There the insect is digested by the enzyme. So the insect, how it will not eat right now, so they will have some special juice and digestive juices will be there for them to digest this enzyme present inside the pitcher. This is known as the insectivorous plants. Some common examples of insectivorous plants are Venus flytrap, sundew plant and bladderwort. Insectivorous plants can photosynthesize, yet they are feed on insects to fill their requirement of nitrogen. They synthesize carbohydrates through photosynthesis only, because as we already said, not only the carbohydrates, every nutrients are important, right? So how they will synthesize? If they get other thing from other insects, they can synthesize their own carbohydrates by means of photosynthesis. So insectivorous plants is also known as the carnivorous plants. They feed on trapping and digesting them. They have the holozoic mode of nutrition. Holozoic mode of nutrition is nothing but indigesting the thing. The picture of the plant is modified. The tip of the leaf is modified into a lid. The insect is trapped, and it is have the special juice, like enzyme is present in the juice to picture to digest them. This is about the insectivorous plants. Bladderwort, Venus flytrap, or moving on to the next one is saprophytic plants. Saprophytes. You might have heard the saprophytes also. Saprophytes are nothing but they will derive nutrition from dead and decaying organic matter. So, the organism which feed on dead and decaying organic matter are nothing but saprophytes. Their mode of nutrition is called the saprophytic mode of nutrition. The organism which feed on dead and decaying organic matter is called the saprophyte, and their mode of nutrition is known as the saprophytic mode of nutrition. Example of saprophytes are monotroph, mushroom and bread molds. Bread molds, you have seen it. Bread is there. Inside the mold will be there. Yes or no? Because the mold is a saprophyte. They will feed on dead and decaying organic matter. The dead mold, after the bread is getting spoiled only, the mold will be there. That's why bread mold is the best example of saprophyte mode of nutrition. What will actually happen in the insectivorous plants? They have the special enzyme to digest the insects. Here also the saprophytes, that is the saprophytes, release the digestive juices on the dead and decaying matter. The saprophyte, once it's get into it, what will happen? They will release some digestive juices on the dead and decaying matter. These juices act upon and convert the organic matter into the liquid form, that is simpler substances. After they are digesting, some nutrients will be present there, right? They will be converting that organic matter into a liquid form, that is simpler substances. These organisms then again absorb this liquid and obtain this nutrition from it. So what is the saprophytes? The organism which feed on dead and decaying organic matter is known as the saprophytes, and the saprophytes they are using the saprophytic mode of nutrition. So what is actually happening is this saprophyte will release one digestive juice on the saprophytes will release digestive juice on the dead and decaying matter. These juices act upon and convert the organic matter present in the dead and decaying matter into a simpler form, simpler substances. Then this organism again absorb this liquid and obtain nutrition from it. What are the examples of saprophyte? Means mushroom and bread mold. These are the best example of saprophytic plants. So saprophytes are nothing but they will feed on dead and decaying organic matter. They are called as a saprophytes, and their mode of nutrition is known as a saprophytic mode of nutrition. They will convert the digestive juice into a simpler one, then this into a liquid form, and they will obtain the nutrition from it. Coming on to the last heterotrophic plant is symbiotic plants. From the name itself, symbiosis. Symbiosis is mutual understanding. Mutual understanding means, suppose in your class, one is bringing a biscuit, you are bringing the chocolate. So you both will exchange, yes or no. That mutual understanding, one should give one, the other should give the next one to support their system. The same way, symbiotic relationship is a close association of two different organisms, not the same. It's a symbiotic relationship is a close association of two different organisms. In this association, two organisms may mutually benefit from each other. Two organisms may mutually benefit from each other. They actually get nourishment from each other. An example of such relation is a lichen. Lichen, I have given the pic in the slide, just have a look of it, children. Lichen is the best association because they have the algae and fungi. Lichen is an algae. Algae can prepare its own food somewhat. Fungi is a saprophytic plant, but algae is an autotrophic mode of nutrition. Algae being an autotroph can synthesize the food, but fungi being the saprophyte cannot prepare its own food, so it will feed on autotroph for water and minerals. But in turn, because algae is giving food to the fungi, but in fungi has to give something in return, right kids? So what they will be given? It will give shelter for it to reside. So this algae will reside on the fungi, and the fungi will get nourishment from the algae, being the algae an autotroph. And lichen is a best association of algae and fungi symbiotic relationship. So symbiotic plants are nothing but symbiotic relationship is a close association of two different organisms. In this association, two organisms may actually benefit from each other. They actually get nourishment from. Nourishment means one can feed on other. They can nourishment from each other. An example of such a relationship is a lichen, which is an association between algae and fungi. Algae being an autotroph, synthesize food. Fungi being the saprophytic, absorb water and minerals to supply the algal partner with the shelter. How do this symbiotic association will help to replenish the soil? Replenish the soil means they can that soil will help makes the soil to fertile again and again. How it happens? Let's have a short discussion in this. Dearies, symbiotic association is extremely helpful to the farmers. Soil provides many minerals to the plant such as phosphorus, potassium and nitrogen. Among all the nutrients, nitrogen is very important for the growth of plant as well as for the synthesis of proteins. So before that we studied other than carbohydrates, what are the other things it will be plants will be produced during the photosynthesis. We have seen that the same way this soil replenishment will be, this symbiotic association is highly helpful for the farmers. They need the minerals. What are the other minerals? They want phosphorus, potassium and nitrogen. Other than that, nitrogen is extremely helpful for the farmers for their growth. But the plants cannot fix the nitrogen directly. So plants cannot utilize the atmospheric nitrogen. Certain microbes such as rhizobium. So rhizobium can convert this atmospheric nitrogen into a form that can be easily used by the plants. Now you understand, children, that symbiotic relationship, so plants has to utilize the nitrogen, but they cannot fix the atmospheric nitrogen. So they need one help of rhizobium, one microbe. That microbe name is rhizobium. That rhizobium can fix the atmospheric nitrogen. So what will happen? This rhizobium will live in the root nodules. Root nodules means pinkish nodule will be there. If I find, I can definitely get you and show there. Rhizobium will live in the root nodules of leguminous plants, so that what will happen? This leguminous plants give place for the microbe to live in this plants. In turn, rhizobium will fix the atmospheric nitrogen to the plant. This bacterium get associated with the roots of the leguminous plants such as peas, beans and gram. Then plant provides food and shelter to the bacterium. Rhizobium will fix nitrogen for the plant, and this helps in replenishing the nutrient in the soil, because again and again if you are using the soil, what will happen? The nutrient of the soil will be losing. If we are using such a type of a thing, what will happen? We can enhance the nutrient in the soil. That's why farmers grow as a leguminous crop in between two main crops to maintain the fertility of the soil. Suppose only one crop cannot be happen. Now this is called crop rotation. This you might have discussed in your social or something. This is a symbiotic association. That is between Nitrobacter, Rhizobium and the leguminous plants. Before ending up this section, let's have a short recap on today's session, children. What are the things we discussed so far? We discussed about condition required for the photosynthesis. In that, we discussed about carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is utilized from the air by means of stomata. The singular is stoma, and it is present abundantly on the lower surface of the leaves, and it is guarded by the guard cells. The guard cells only control the opening and the closing of the stomata. Then water and minerals. Water and minerals will be absorbed by the roots with the help of the root hairs. Root hair will transport the water and minerals, and it will absorbed by the xylem present in the leaves. Next, moving on to the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. The organism which cannot prepare its own food is known as a heterotrophs, and the mode of nutrition is called the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. In that, we studied about the parasitic plants. Parasites means which live on the other organism as a host. In that, we discussed about Cuscuta and Rafflesia. Next comes the insectivorous plants which cannot prepare its own food, but something it can synthesize is carbohydrates. Example of insectivorous plants are picture plant, bladderwort, sundew plant. Insectivorous plants is also called as a carnivorous plants. Next come the saprophytic plants. Saprophytes, the organism which feed on dead and decaying matter is called the saprophyte, and their mode of nutrition is known as a saprophytic mode of nutrition. Example of saprophyte are mushroom and the bread mold. Next come the symbiotic plant. It's a close association of the two organisms in which both will be benefited. In that, we have seen about lichen. Lichen is an example of algae and fungi relationship. Then how the symbiotic association help to replenish the soil. In that, we have seen about how the rhizobium will help in the leguminous plants to fix the atmospheric nitrogen, so that leguminous plants will give shelter for the microbe. In turn, microbe rhizobium will help the leguminous plants to replenish the soil. So this is about so why the association is extremely important is so that it will provide more nutrients and extremely helpful for the farmers. That's why leguminous plants are very important to increase the fertility. That's all for today's session, children. I think you all understand all the things. If you find any doubt or you find it any problem with any one of the topic, just ask me at any time and I'm there to help you for you all. Until then, this is Aparna ma'am signing off from today's session. Stay home, stay safe, stay happily, children. Meet you all in next session. Thank you all.